The auxiliary power unit, or APU, is located in the unpressurized tail cone area of the aircraft. It is a self-contained unit that can provide both electric and pneumatic power. The APU allows the aircraft to be powered and to operate without the need for external ground support equipment. The APU is a single-spool gas turbine engine that provides shaft drive power to an accessory gearbox. The gearbox drives a generator and is connected to the APU starter. In general, the APU generator can provide power to the aircraft electrical system, and the APU can provide bleed air to either operate the air conditioning packs or to operate the engine starters. Now, while on the ground, the APU can supply electrical power to the electrical system and supply bleed air to operate both packs and the engine starters. During takeoff, the APU can supply bleed air for the packs in order to avoid a thrust reduction that normally occurs when the engines supply bleed air for the packs. This enables improved performance for takeoff when required. In flight, the APU bleed air may be used to supply the packs and start the engines. The APU bleed air can supply 2 packs up to 15,000 feet, but is limited to supply only 1 pack from 15,000 to 22,500 feet. Variations in these maximum altitudes exist at different ISA temperatures. The details for use of in-flight APU bleed air for pack or engine starter operation are provided in the limitations section of your flight manual. The APU can also be operated during takeoff and flight to provide electrical power to one side of the electrical system when dispatch with an inoperative engine generator is required. In flight, the APU generator can provide electrical power up to the maximum certificated aircraft altitude of approximately flight level 390. Automatic control of the APU is provided by an electronic control box, or ECB. The ECB is a full authority electronic controller that provides control logic for these functions: sequences the start and monitors it, monitors speed and temperature, monitors bleed air, sequences the APU shutdown, controls the automatic shutdown. The APU is started with a DC-powered electric starting motor that can be powered by normal electrical power or by the aircraft batteries when normal power is not available. The starter is controlled by the ECB and will only operate when the air intake flap is fully open and both the APU master switch and start push button are on. On the ground, normal electrical power for APU start can be provided by an engine-driven generator or by an external power source. In flight, normal electrical power for APU start can be provided by an engine-driven generator, and with normal power, the APU can be started throughout the entire aircraft environmental envelope. On the ground or in flight without normal electrical power, the APU can be started by use of aircraft battery power. However, the maximum altitude for an in-flight battery start is approximately 25,000 feet. Inlet air for APU combustion is provided through an automatic operating flap located at the bottom of the aft fuselage. The flap opens for APU operation and closes when the APU is shut down. The flap is electrically powered and controlled by the ECB. While open, the flap allows external air to flow to the inlet of the APU compressor. After the air flows through the APU combustion section, the APU exhaust is delivered straight out the end of the aircraft. APU fuel is supplied through a low-pressure fuel valve in the left side of the fuel system. Fuel pressure to the APU is normally provided by a main boost pump. However, an APU pump will automatically operate when main boost pump pressure is not available. The fuel flow to the APU is controlled by the ECB. The APU has its own oil lubrication system. If the oil quantity is low, an advisory is displayed on the ECAM APU system display page. Most of the APU controls are on the overhead panel of the flight deck. Externally, there is an APU shutoff push button and APU fire warning light located in the front of the nose gear well. We'll describe the external controls later. For now, let's look close at the flight deck APU controls and indicators. The APU master switch and start push button switch are located on the APU control panel shown here. These are the switches you will normally use to start and shut down the APU. An APU bleed push-button switch is installed on the air conditioning panel. It is used to control the supply of APU bleed air to the pneumatic system. With the APU running and the APU bleed selected on, the engine bleeds are closed. Therefore, this switch is normally off while the engines are running, unless the crew intends to provide APU air to the packs. The APU generator push-button switch is located on the electrical panel and is normally left in the on position. It is used to control the APU generator. The APU generator will not automatically go online if the switch is on. The external power and engine generator power must be removed in order for the APU generator to go online. The last APU control item in the flight deck is the guarded APU fire push-button switch. This switch can shut down the APU and arm the squib to dispense agent to fight an APU fire. The details of this switch will be described in the Fire Detection and Protection module. The APU indications are displayed on the ECAM APU page. The ECAM APU page automatically displays when you start the APU. The normal indications are EGT and compressor RPM, APU bleed air configuration, APU generator operation, and the position of the APU air intake flap. There are also indications for abnormal conditions such as low oil quantity. We'll show these more as we describe normal APU operation. Before we finish this introduction to the APU, let's discuss the ground operation safety that is provided with the APU. Because of these features, the APU can operate without crew supervision in the flight deck while on the ground. First, the APU is equipped with fire detection, fire warnings, and automatic shutdown. The warnings are provided both in the flight deck and by the nose gear. If a fire is detected, the APU will not only shut down, but on the ground, the APU fire extinguisher is automatically discharged. We'll demonstrate the fire detection shutdown later. Well, this completes the introduction to the A320 Auxiliary Power Unit. You should be familiar with the APU operation and with the location of the controls and indicators. Now, let's answer some questions.